Hello all, welcome back to Project Mastery Podcast. This is a continuation of Trustworthy AI concepts which we discussed in part 1. Let's understand what is responsible AI. When you do a particular action, you have to do it in the right manner. This is responsible AI. Ethical AI means you are finding out which is right, which is wrong, which is the right thing to do, and you identify this is the right thing that needs to be done. Once you have identified, you need to perform that particular thing in a responsible way, in a right manner. This is what responsible AI is all about. Responsible AI means you do not violate any laws. Responsible AI means you do not violate people's privacy. You do not abuse people's privacy. When I say you do not, we're talking about systems. Responsible AI systems will keep people's data safe. It will also keep people safe. Responsible AI means prevent the abuse of AI technology. Prevent the misuse of AI technology. Responsible AI means you should keep people safe and have them secured. Provide a trail of human accountability. Let's understand the data privacy laws. Data privacy laws are getting complicated. GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulation. It is used for regulating data storage. It is used for regulating data sharing. It is also used for regulating data privacy. Data Governance Act and Data Act deals with structures and process to help data and clarifies who can create value from data and under which circumstances. There are US regulations available. COPPA stands for Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. It came into existence in April 2000. HIPAA stands for Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. It came into existence in 1996. CCPA stands for California Consumer Privacy Act. It came into existence in 2018. These are the data privacy laws. GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulation. GDPR is a European Union regulation. This is focused on protecting the data and the privacy. This is focused on EU companies and EU citizens. Though it is focusing on them, it has become a worldwide regulation because it impacts the use of personal data, it impacts the use of private data in AI systems as part of machine learning training. It has become a worldwide regulation for multinational organizations who operate in the EU. The key principle of GDPR is you must give the people, you must give the consumers complete control of their personal data which is being collected by all companies. Consumers have the right to be forgotten. What this means is you can have your data erased at any time by the companies at your will. This finally ends up as an international law, probably a semi-international law, as it applies to companies even outside of the EU region if they plan to offer goods or if they plan to offer services or they plan to monitor the people's behavior residing in EU. GDPR is going to give the consumers the control of their personal data which is being collected by the companies. What is PII? PII stands for Personally Identifiable Information. Information such as social security number, name and other information that uniquely identify a particular individual. Personally identifiable health information is what is called as PHI. PHI is a version of PII. PHI is always focused on healthcare data. Data anonymization. It's a method for removing data. It's a method for modifying data. You not only modify data, you can also modify or remove metadata and also other markers from datasets that can be used to identify individuals or contain identifiable information, meaning personally identifiable information. Data anonymization is a process of protecting sensitive data or private data. You do it by either removing or encrypting personally identifiable identifiers. Data anonymization has got great significance here, as we all know that AI systems are using personal data like pictures and content to generate new content without permission. AI systems need to be built with safety mindset. AI systems should not endanger humans through carelessness. Reliability and safety are two important aspects of AI systems. When we talk about reliability, it means AI systems should be reliable enough to operate in accordance with a particular purpose. When we talk about safety, AI systems need to be resilient. There should always be a fallback plan. AI systems should be secured. You should always have access control mechanisms in place. Models need to be audited for use. Models need to be audited for access. Models need to be protected. Training data needs to be protected. Model settings need to be protected. You should analyze the vulnerabilities. There could be some significant changes to data or operations, and these significant changes might impact the performance. Hence, you need to report on these significant changes. Malicious AI is a term where AI is used for unethical purpose. You are using it for criminal purpose, you are using it for dangerous purpose, you are using it for bad purposes. Bad people are always doing bad things with AI. We're talking about automating attacks, we're talking about autonomous bad bots. There are physical threats, autonomous vehicles can damage. Automating social engineering is an example. There are cyber threats. There are new attacks on system from intelligent bots. Automating zero-day discovery is also an example of cyber threat. Let's say that you are coming up with an automated bot for constantly probing for vulnerabilities, and the learning knowledge is going to be shared with other bots. That is a malicious AI. Adversarial AI attacks is a term that we should be aware of. Adversarial attack is a malicious attack. This attack happens on machine learning systems by using maliciously designed input images. These maliciously designed input images can trick the machine learning model in predicting that the data, such as image, is something different than what it is saying. Adversarial attacks has been on the rise on computer vision systems. Small perturbations can deceive a computer vision system. Please understand this is different from adversarial term that is used in GAN networks. Deepfake. What does a deepfake mean? When we use GANs and other forms of deep learning neural networks, deepfake can happen using these networks to generate a content that is used to trick or fake the customer or viewer. Especially, you are manipulating images and videos to make it seem that the person is in the image or the person is in the video when they are not in actually. Example, AI systems using your own samples, AI systems using your NLG technology to make you say what you did not. Once customers lose confidence or trust in AI systems, it is impossible to reverse and get back the full trust. Pseudo AI, what does pseudo AI mean? A product or a company that claims that it has used AI for a particular task, but it is actually using humans to perform those tasks without properly disclosing to the consumers the use of humans to perform those tasks. Humans pretending to be machines, pretending to be humans. Why this happens? Because there are venture capital pressures. You want to test the product before the technology becomes ready. We should not be doing this. If we want humans in the loop, we should always go in search of a real augmented intelligence approach. What is AI system transparency? I need to understand what and all went into in building this AI system so that I can trust this AI system. How do I know the AI models that have been built successfully? What data it has used? What data has been used as an input to create these models? What is the data that has been included? What is the data that has been excluded? And what are the bias related aspects? AI system transparency means I need to have visibility into everything, into all aspects of what went into successful building of an AI computer system so that users like us can understand the full context of how the systems are built and how the systems are being used. An example of AI system transparency is, we all know that image in a test set has an estimated label error rate of 5.8%. We should always have transparency. Only when there is transparency, there is going to be clear visibility into the real issue that we are planning to solve. Algorithmic transparency is a technical issue. It is different from systematic transparency. Systematic transparency is all about how the system is being built. You need to understand what are the data inputs that have gone into building these systems. Data transparency, configuration transparency, design transparency, decision transparency. All these are visibility aspects when it comes to system design. You should have visibility into the training data. You should know what are the configuration parameter settings used. You should know what are the means used for data selection. You need to understand how the algorithm was selected, what method and approach was used, example N7 method, what are the decisions that were taken by us, what are the critical technical decisions that have been taken. All these come under data transparency and configuration transparency. When we talk about decision transparency and design transparency, AI systems should provide transparency into data about the design of algorithm, about the operation of algorithm, about the impact, about the personal data being used or any other algorithm used. AI system should provide visibility into data about the design of the systems, about the operation of systems, about the impact of the systems, about the personal data that is being used or any other algorithm that is being used. Documentation needs to be in place for knowing how the model is being trained, how the model is being selected, how the process is being conducted, and what measures have been taken to address risk. You should have complete transparency into the model versioning, model development, and the use of AI systems. You need to document the methods of data selection. You need to share the methods of data selection. You need to provide complete visibility into the training inputs the training data inputs. There has to be complete visibility into every decision that's being made in the process. What are the design considerations made when building this AI system? AI system disclosure. You need to let people know that they are interacting with AI systems. There has to be a transparency in place. We call this as responsible disclosure. You have to ensure that people are aware of the fact that they are interacting with an AI system. They can find out when an AI system is engaging with them. We should not violate trust when people think they are interacting with a human, but it's really an AI system. This is like a deepfake technology. You think you are interacting with a human, but it's actually an AI system that you're interacting with. You should also not violate trust when people think they are interacting with AI systems, but actually it is a human that you're interacting with. This is an example of pseudo AI. In both ways, you should gain trust. Hence, it is extremely important that users need to be aware when they are engaging with AI systems, whether they are engaging with AI systems or human. This disclosure, this responsible disclosure is a must, and there has to be transparency here. AI system consent. You should always give consent to the users to the use of AI system. AI system is always making significant decisions like loan approval decisions. They should not make any wrong decision, or they should not take a decision on behalf of people without getting their consent. There should be an alternative to the use of AI systems. AI systems must inform the decisions that they are taking and should give a mechanism where users can opt out of the AI system and say that this decision is going to impact my life, I want to opt out of it. What are the means that you can provide to opt out of the AI systems? How will you provide alternatives to the use of AI system? How will you pay close attention on the emerging laws and regulations that will impact the requirement to get consent to use AI systems for making critical decisions? How will you track the opt-out decisions? How will you manage the opt-out decisions that have been made with users? Measuring bias is an important aspect. There is always going to be bias in the data. Are you measuring the bias? There should always be means in place to constantly measure bias which is coming from different sources. There should also be mechanism available to mitigate the bias which we detect. AI systems should be measuring bias and serving the audience properly. Legal liabilities need to be avoided. What is the approach that you are going to use to measure the source of bias? How are you going to identify the bias issues? You may have a bias issue with the vendor, you may have a bias issue with third-party data or from suppliers, or there could be bias issue from contractors. How will you measure the model performance against these bias measures? How are you going to communicate internally the methods that are being used to measure bias issue? How are you going to communicate externally the techniques or the methods you are using to measure bias issue? We should have answered all of these questions when it comes to measuring bias. We have covered some of the key concepts here. We will be covering the remaining concepts in part 3 of Trustworthy AI Concepts. We have come to the end of the podcast. Hope the knowledge is valuable. Thank you for tuning in.